Okay, so you're getting a feel for working with gradients here in Photoshop. Now, I want to show you something else here. If none of the gradients that we see inside this drop-down box appeal to you, you can always go about creating your own custom gradients if you want, using Photoshop's Gradient Editor dialog box. How does this guy work? Well, try clicking on this gradient swatch and you'll wind up inside the Gradient Editor. All right, now what's happened here is the gradient that I was last on gets loaded into the bottom area of the Gradient Editor. Or I suppose what I could do is I could click on one of the other pre-existing gradients inside the top half of the Gradient Editor, and those gradients each get loaded into the bottom area. So I think I'm going to start off nice and simple. I'm just going to grab this third swatch here, which is just black to white, no big deal. And then inside the Gradient Editor, I can see there's the black to the white. So these boxes on the bottom represent the colors, again, in my case, black and white. And I can actually drag these guys. These guys are called color stops, by the way. So maybe I want more white in my gradient and less black. I could drag my white color stop towards the left. And of course, I can do the opposite as well. I could grab my black color stop and drag him towards the right to have more black and fewer grays and fewer whites, right? But what if I actually wanted to change that color completely? What if I wanted to use something entirely different? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on this color stop, and that brings me into Photoshop's color picker. We already know about the color picker, so I don't need to reintroduce you to this or anything, but what I would do now is I would go and find some kind of a color in exactly the same method that you and I found colors earlier. So maybe it's sort of a light yellow that I'm after, something like this, and then I'll go ahead and click on OK. And then that light yellow gets loaded into the color stop that I had double clicked on, right? So now my gradient is going from light yellow to white. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with my white color stop. I'll double click on him. And maybe I want this to transition into maybe an orangish color. Maybe, something like this, right? There we are. Set my color. Click on OK. Of course, that color now gets loaded into the white color stop. Now, what's really cool here is I can add on additional colors. Remember, I started off by saying that gradients are a transition between at least two colors, but you can add in more, right? Well, check this out. I'm going to go and add in some more colors simply by clicking on the bottom of this this gradient ramp here. Right in here, just single click. There's another color stop. I'll single click again. There's now a fourth color stop, and then of course I can change those colors that are assigned to the color stop again just by double clicking on them. And again, you can go and find whatever color you want to use. I'm going to go with a minty green here, I think. So now it goes from the light yellow to the green, now over into my my dark orange there. I'll go and change this other color stop maybe into a blue, something like this, right? You can really go nuts and create some really wild, weird patterns. Anyway, so that looks kind of fun. That's kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and click on New, and what that does now is that adds my custom gradient to my list of presets, which is great. But I think what I want to do is I want to go and create yet another custom color, or another custom gradient, I should say, using custom colors. So I'm going to take these additional gradient stops here, and I'm going to drag them off the bottom of the gradient ramp, just dragging straight down, something like that. I'm actually kind of partial to this, so I'm going to click on New again, and that'll add on a second custom gradient to my set of gradients. Wonderful. Okay, go ahead and click on OK, and your new gradients, of course, are now available inside the gradient dropdown from the options bar.